Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. I just read an article in a German newspaper saying that President Trump or the Trump administration revoked over 1,000 visas of Chinese PhD students and researchers in the US. And that is a follow-up, or this is how the story unfolds with respect to a video I have made before where I have explained to you the situation in the US and in Europe as it stands with Chinese professors, researchers, and graduate students who are at the same time still in the Communist Party and sometimes also active members of the Chinese military, the People's Liberation Army. And that is, of course, a problem, especially when they are doing research or when they have access to research results or to progress data that is very sensitive. For example, dual use projects that are both or that can be applied both in the civilian sector as well in the military. So this is a problem. And as I told you in my last video, the Trump administration now sees this as a problem. It's on their radar now. They do something, as you see here, in Europe and in Germany. I don't see or hear anything. Maybe they are more secretive, more discreet about it, but I don't see anything happening. I see the same level of silly, stupid, liberal openness, and we are not really doing anything against that. So in today's video, I want to unpack what is in this really, really short article. It's a short article, but there is a lot of stuff in there actually, when you think about it. First of all, this is not only a strike against against China and these potential spies. It is also a strike against these universities in the United States, because the last sentence of the article is very interesting. They say that over 360,000 Chinese students are studying in the universities in the USA, and that brings a lot of revenue to these institutions in the US. Of course, these foreign students also have to pay tuition in most cases, or in some sort. At least, maybe they have a waiver for something when they teach, for example. That is usually being done, but most of them will in some form or another still pay tuition. So that is interesting. That means not only are they spying on the US, they are also, all these universities, they allow the spying to happen. I know that these professors, they don't really care about that. Most of the time, these professors are not patriots. They couldn't care less. They would actually be glad if they could support China with that. So these institutions, these universities, they get rich with this Chinese money, and at the same time they sell out US American research, US American secrets. And the article also said that especially among other relevant sensitive fields and topics, among others also research on the China bug is here of a key importance. And that is really something you need to let sink in. Yeah? First, China is using their tourists and their business travelers. They put them on planes, fly them all around the world on purpose in order to spread this affliction all around the world. And now they want to steal Western research results about it. And you don't have to be a genius to assume or to see that this is not generally about the pathogen or something. This is about a vaccine, of course, vaccine research. That is, of course, what is the target here. And first they want to infect everyone around the globe, and then the Chinese want to sell us a vaccine based on stolen Western research, and that is the way China operates. And in light of these facts, just think about the Chinese statement. The Chinese, as a response to this revoking of 1,000 visas, and 1,000 compared to 360,000 overall Chinese students. So you see that they didn't just reject Chinese student visa. They did careful background checks, I assume, and they ended up with 1,000. That is a tiny fraction of all these students that they revoked the visas of. So yeah, this is a select few that are suspicious, that might be communists, that might be in the military, and that work in these sensitive fields. And only those, so not blanket revoking all the student visas of Chinese people, of course not, but only those who they found relevant here in a background check. Okay, but what do the Chinese say now? They say, we reject this measure. That's the first thing they say. Yeah, okay, you reject it. What does that mean? Your visas have been revoked. We don't care if you reject that or not. And then, yeah, we reject every measure that would restrict our students' visas, okay? And we want more understanding and more openness. Yeah, I think the understanding part, I think we're very clear on that. I think we do have an understanding of how China operates by now, okay? We don't need any more of your students here in order to understand you better. I think the picture is very clear from where we are right now, okay? So that is one point, and I don't just want to read these news or explain these news about America to an international audience who can read that in a English newspaper just as well. Of course, I want to add some background information from Germany. And it is interesting here, this last sentence of the article, this 360,000 Chinese students who bring a lot of revenue to US universities. How does that look like in Germany? Well, in Germany, there was an attempt, has been made, to introduce fees or tuition, something like that. And that failed pretty much. So the idea was, we have a socialized system. That means basically studying at a German university is free. You pay like 50 euros of some administration fee per semester, and then 100 euros maybe for a bus pass or like a subway pass, but that is really cheap. I mean, you can drive or you can ride on the subway and on the buses in the extended network of the city or the district where you are for 6 months for like $100. That is, you don't get a bus pass that cheap normally, and it entails also other goodies, let's say, for students. Yeah, so reduced prices in many fields. So it is basically free when you compare it to these thousands of dollars that it costs per semester at an American university, not just the Ivy League, also another decent state university. You pay a lot of money, and compared to that, that is really pocket money, what you pay per semester in Germany. There is one state, however, that has still these tuitions, and that is Baden-Württemberg, our southwesternmost state. They still have it, and their foreigners would have to pay that too. But in all the other states, they don't. And even there, I didn't look it up now specifically, but it might vary from university to university. But it might be something like 500 euros or something. That was the last number I heard. So 500 euros per semester. Wow. Ooh, yeah. So basically, it is for free in Germany. So that means not only is Germany not doing anything that I can see, at least, against these Chinese spies, we also let foreigners study almost completely for free at our universities. in America, you see, the universities at least profit from these foreign students in some way, which is also dangerous because that leads them then, that compels them to sell out their research even more because they are paying customers, right? But in Germany, these foreigners, they don't bring any money into our education system. They can study completely for free, just like the Germans. But the difference is, the parents of those German students, they paid for that with their taxes. And then these German students, when they stay in Germany, they will pay with their taxes in the future. But when a foreigner just comes to study in Germany and then leaves again, yeah, that is absolutely insane. I would say let them pay. Let these foreigners pay. But of course, the German mentality is that we pay for everything, that we are the welfare office of planet Earth, basically. And that is why, of course, foreign students, not only can they have all the research results and steal them for their foreign militaries and their foreign research institutes and for their foreign industry, no, they can also study for free in Germany. So that is a side note, or that is some background information that I wanted to give you from the German side, from the German perspective, so that you can see how insane it is in Europe. And I think President Trump is doing absolutely the right thing. It was high time that something gets done against these despicable practices from the side of the Chinese Communist Party and the leadership there. Yeah, as I said in my last video, it still seems like Europe is not really reacting. I mean, the least that they could do is now that they see that the Americans do something, that they would start to get active too, even though they were they were totally asleep at the wheel to begin with. But now the very least they could do is start as a reaction to do something too. But not even that I have heard. It is just very, very sad. Okay, so this is my little follow-up video on this front, on the academic and industrial espionage front, China against the West. President Trump gets active. He is not only making these announcements in a short time afterwards. Actually, you see the first measures being implemented here, which I think is pretty cool. To be quite honest, I criticize Trump a lot, but here I can say absolutely 100% approval. And it would be interesting to see, however, it's just a short article, it doesn't contain that, of course. It would be interesting for me to see what the criteria were for these a little more than 1,000 students that got their visas revoked. So that means they were accepted first, and now, in light of these new measures, the visa was revoked. Yeah, that is something I would have liked to know. Like, what were the criteria? What were the research fields? We have already heard China bug, biological, pharmaceutical research on that stuff. But what other fields and what background checks were done? But maybe this is not even disclosed to the public. I don't know. Okay, let me know what you think about that and how that is in your country, as you already did in the last video. But I find this update really, really important here, that some action can be seen from the American side. This is a very, very good signal. So I wanted to share that with you. Take care. Servus, Kameraden.